Good evening, everybody. It's Geek Rant here. My name is Greg. This is our first episode of a new debate channel. We're going to have good discussions about all things science fiction, fantasy, Marvel, anything that's a bit geeky, anything that we might be interested in. We decided to set this channel up because we're all siblings, and we spent 30 years talking about all sorts of different science fiction and Star Trek, and we've all grown up with it together, and we've all discussed over the dining table what we feel about things, and with the way things have gone with culture, YouTube and Twitch and all these different channels, we've wanted to get out there, put a bit of our opinion out there. We are by no means experts on any of this. These are just everyday people who we all have different types of jobs. We're not in any of the industries or anything like that, but we love science fiction. We love all Star Wars, all these sorts of different things. And we wanted to sort of get out there, get some comments back from people, and try and build a bit of rapport with a new crowd of people. Let me introduce the other guys on the channel with me tonight. I've got my sister and my brother. My younger brother, unfortunately, couldn't make it today. There's 4 of us. I know it's pretty crazy. But I've got my older brother with us tonight. Toby, would you like to just give yourself a quick introduction?
Hey, everybody. I'm Toby. I have always had a massive interest in culture. I am actually a games designer, and I do other YouTube content, and I'm interested in pop culture. So this was a good opportunity just to be able to voice some opinions, because I think we all sit there, don't we? Or when we're looking at the TV and we're watching our favorite show, and we want to tell people how we feel about it. And so we thought that this would be a really good way of doing it. So, and then we've got Sarah as well.
Hi, I'm Sarah. 3 older brothers in a house watching Star Trek, Star Wars, Goonies, all sorts of things. It's ingrained in me, and we love talking about it. So we thought, why don't we share our opinions with other people? So I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, great. Well, let's get straight into it. The first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is it's a bit of a Marvel night. We're going to talk about Moon Knight.
I'm losing it.
We'll catch you on. You're bloody useless, Stevie.
Steven. I can't tell the difference between life and dreams.
Thank you.
Lost the contact lens.
Hope you find it.
Thanks. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're alive. What's wrong with you, Mark?
Why did you call me Mark? It must be very difficult. The voice in your head. Shut up! There's chaos in you. Embrace the chaos.
Great.
So, I mean, who heard of Moon Knight before it actually happened?
No, I didn't know much about him. I only really know about a lot of the main characters from, the ones they've sort of done over the last 10 years. Moon Knight was a bit of a new entry for me, and I think that's probably helped with the show.
Yeah.
What about you, Sarah? You heard of him?
Yeah, I hadn't heard. I haven't read. I'm not going to say I've read every single comic. I haven't read any of the comics. I just love watching the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And sharing my opinions with you guys about it. But
Yeah.
no, I'd never heard of it until they announced 2 years ago that they were going to do a series when they did that massive, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, all before COVID hit and everything slowed down. And now we've got a bunch of films that are about to come out because they've been waiting. They've been queued up, haven't they?
Yeah.
But no, and I have to say I've enjoyed it. Obviously, we're 5 episodes in. Quite a lot has happened. The last 2 episodes have been complete turnaround.
Why don't we? I mean, in the beginning, it was like I had expected there to be this new superhero plastered all over the screen. Yeah, you know, lots of images of Moon Knight flying around doing this thing, and then in the first 2 episodes, did we even see Moon Knight in the first episode? Or did
we see him
at the very
right
end.
At the end. He's been chased. So in the first episode, isn't it? Oscar Isaac, and who does he holds this whole program together, really. Oscar Isaac. He does a great performance of someone who's got one of these conditions where he's got multiple personalities or whatever it is.
It's a social identity disorder.
Oh, is that what it is? Sorry.
Yeah.
So obviously it's when he's in the museum, isn't it? So in the first episode, he keeps having these time flash, missing time. He appears other places.
Something is going on, isn't it?
Something's going on.
He wakes up in bed with his leg shackled to a pillar.
Yeah, he just thinks he's got some sort of night issue, dream, sort of nightmare issue, doesn't he?
He thinks he's sleepwalking, doesn't he? He thinks he goes out in the night and does things he can't remember.
Exactly.
When obviously he's got a multiple personalities.
So that's where I had problems began for me. At that point I was like, okay, what reality are we working in here? What are we meant to believe, and how much of my disbelief am I meant to suspend?
I don't know. I think you kind of knew a little bit because of what's been said about the program and that sort of thing. I kind of got it that there was something going on like this. Where he had multiple. Someone was taking over his body. I thought it was the Moon Knight to start with. I thought he just wasn't aware of it and could remember it. But obviously it's turned out to be this other character, isn't it? But I quite like the way they did it. The bit where he's chasing around in that van, along that road, and suddenly he's jumping it, and waking up here, and I thought it was.
I sort of did, but good. I didn't know the rules. The rules weren't clear to me.
Right.
I think that's one of the mistakes they made with that part of it, if there were any, in the sense. How do we know when he could take over? He just seemed to be able to do it in a moment.
And then he'd be in a sticky situation, and a minute later, everyone's dead around him.
Maybe it's his adrenaline that is kicking this other character in, or something. Once you get into a situation, you do feel different, So maybe that is the way that the other character can come out. They don't really explain that, but I'm just trying.
The director's obviously decided, hasn't he, that this is going to be the star. We'll have this moment when we just see it from Stephen's perspective, and not experience who Mark is in those first shows. And I think that we could have actually had some flashbacks to those moments to see the fights. I think that would have been really interesting.
Well, do you know what I find interesting is I watched the first episode and then I watched it again, right? I watched it twice back to back. And the second time I watched it, I saw you see so much more. And actually I find that if I watch something on an iPad with my headphones on, I see so much more than if I'm watching the TV. And if my phone goes off, I don't see it. It's so much, with everything you can look at on your phone. But I watched it back. I watched it twice in a row. And the second time I watched it, I noticed things like you can hear Conchu saying, let him take your body over, let him take your body over. And you can hear little things that I hadn't necessarily picked up the first time. And I think actually if we rewatch every episode twice, you'd see so much more. But I have really enjoyed it. I think Oscar Isaac is an excellent actor. I really like Ethan Hawke. I mean, I like his scene at the beginning when he puts the glass into his shoes and he's,
Yes.
you know, and he came up with that idea. That wasn't actually in the script.
He actually had a lot of airtime, didn't he, for a baddie? Do you know what I mean? Often they are jumping in the end and fighting, but he's not a fighting character, is he? He's very much trying to coax people round to his way of thinking, even though it's a bit, you know, a bit crazy, you know, like the second episode where he gets Stephen, you know, the police officers come in and take him to that place where they have all the people, and there's a good bit there where he's talking to him and they're conversing and so on, and then it turns into a little bit of action, which was you know, nice to see the Moon Knight. It, like you say, it could have done with a lot more of it, but
could have done some more.
What did you think? What did you think of him when he's in the suit? The when Stephen is
the comedy
gets that funny suit character,
it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite,
I like that. He doesn't quite know how to take on the Moon Knight, does he?
No.
And so his interpretation of that hero.
Well, they kept saying to him, "Put on the suit," and he's thinking of a mate, you know. So
it's
you
hilarious.
know. It was funny in places, you know. It's
again, I think
you weren't so convinced about that too, were you?
No, I think I didn't like the Mr. Suit guy at all. I thought he was I thought it was too much. I just felt that there was a lot going on, and watching it back, I don't think I'd want to watch it back because I just felt I don't know. I was a bit bored by this continual battle.
Right.
It felt very centered on Oscar Isaac. I think he's a great actor, as you say. I think he's done a great job. But I just felt that we needed more.
Yeah.
I needed a sense of more, and I was getting a bit tired of this backwards and forwards. I wasn't believing it.
In the mirrors and stuff.
Yeah, and they kept having to find reflective surfaces. I joked. You know, whenever they set up a scene, they have to make sure there's a reflective surface, and they were getting tables with reflective surfaces, and
really?
I you know, that for me wasn't great. I think they wasted a bit too much, you know, on that particular element.
It's interesting.
I think the first 2 episodes were good, and then the 3rd episode I didn't think was that interesting, and then the 4th and 5th. They, you know, the asylum situation, and it's totally flipped on its head, and it feels like it's moved away from being a Marvel show and a superhero to some sort of psychological program, and I just don't know how they're going to tie it all up in the 6th episode, and I don't know how to tie it into the Marvel universe with all of the other
things that
are going on.
I think on reflection, you've got to say, is this a Marvel show now?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the last 2 episodes, because obviously we're doing this late April, so we're on episode 5 at the moment, and the last 2 episodes I don't think we've actually seen the Moon Knight, maybe once in a flashback, but it's a shame because the Moonlight looks really cool. You know, I like the principle of it. I'd like to see a bit more of what he can do and the abilities and things like that. You know. I wondered about, does the suit protect him, or is it just heal him? You know, because there's one bit where he gets shot at, and it seems to, I don't know if it's deflects the bullets or not.
No, it heals him.
It heals him. I see. Right. Because then he's got stabbed by those guys with the spears, and you know, and I thought, hang on, if he's bulletproof, how did the spears get through? You know.
So Conchu said, you won't have my suit to protect you, to heal you.
You're right.
So basically, you had to get the spear out of him so he could heal.
Yes, I'm with you. So he's not impervious to anything. He's just he heals very well, like Wolverine or something.
No, he's not. In fact, I was looking back at some of the comics, and his powers aren't really described too clearly in the comics.
No,
he's shown as being strong.
Yeah,
and he can take on some pretty high powered villains, but I think they've had a bit of liberty with what his powers are and how, as a superhero, he presents in these shows. So,
well, you know, there's the comic world, and then there's the MCU, isn't there? You know, they are different. You know, I think that's a thing, because they're doing creation stories for a lot of these characters, and some of them are written like 50, 60 years ago when they're like in the Second World War or something. Do you know what I mean? And so it's very hard to sort of combine.
There will be a fan base that will be looking for a certain loyalty to what the comics present.
Yes.
So it's a difficult line to walk, I guess. I mean, you've got to be. There's a big fan base who know these characters, but would that apply less to a character like Moon Knight, who really he's not one of their big stars, Marvel stars?
No, he isn't.
And I think another thing that is worth bringing up is the presentation of the gods in Moon Knight.
Yeah,
because the gods that we know of, Thor, for example, he's actually a main character, isn't he?
Yes.
And we get to know him. But in this, the gods have their avatars who represent them on Earth, whereas the gods themselves appear as these big kind of floppy CGI creatures. And I didn't buy into those personally. I felt that was a shame. Like the hippo in the most recent. I mean, her voice did not match that hippo, did it? I mean, it was a weird thing they did.
Was it the voice of Layla?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Don't think so.
I
don't think it was. No, I don't think.
No, I don't think it was.
No,
it was someone different. I'm sure it was. Yeah,
it was definitely.
But I know what you mean. It's they were trying to add a bit of comedy value in with it as well, weren't they? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's very much a Marvel thing, isn't it? Sometimes it falls flat, and sometimes it's really funny.
Yeah.
I had also thought, obviously we were talking about the episodes there, weren't we? Episode 3, the bit where they convened all the people together, to talk about what was going on, and that was the one bit where I thought I didn't like the way Oscar Isaac had the voice of the inside him, and he was like, and I didn't like that bit particularly. I like the idea that they can get together and they had these conflabs, and they're not going to interfere in human society anymore and all that sort of thing. It's quite convenient.
It was a bit crap.
It was a little bit.
I think that is partly because of how do they represent gods through human beings?
Yes.
I mean, the concept itself.
They can't just make them all powerful, can they?
No, just by God like this, I'm a god.
Yeah. Exactly, and it was. But I think that this had that problem throughout. I mean, how are the gods represented?
Yes.
And what role do they play, and how believable is it? How much do they want us to believe, and how much do we have to suspend our disbelief? Because I feel that I think they were really trying to get people to buy into this whole concept of the Egyptian gods, and and really believe in it. And I struggled with that side of it.
Did you?
I didn't feel it felt it fit. I didn't feel it fitted into the Marvel universe.
I agree.
I felt like
that's interesting.
I cannot see.
I suppose. Sorry.
Go on, Sarah.
I can't see it tying in with any other. The only other film is it's late. I've forgotten the name of this. It's the Eternals. Because they came from the past, and they kind of a lot of the stories were created by them. Peter Pan and all those sorts of things. Kind of I could feel and sense that could connect, but nothing else. I don't see it fitting anywhere else.
No.
And is it what year is it? Is it 2022?
It's meant to be modern day. I think it's meant to be.
I think it's pretty much modern day. Yeah. No, I do. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I hadn't sort of thought of it in that sort of context. I saw it as I suppose I saw it as its own thing, and I'm just trying to work it out. There's been a lot of sort of working out what's going on. There was a bit where I think it was in the second one or the third episode where he's chasing those guys on the rooftop and he has a fight with them, and yet he's Mark at that point, and then he sort of has one of those things, and suddenly he's holding the guy over an edge of a thing, and it was like, well, hang on, Stephen didn't take on the thing, right?
up.
It wasn't
There was
Mark.
there was this
So-
talk of this dark passenger, a bit like Dexter. You know, there's
Right.
some kind of dark passenger.
I just sort of thought, well, who
inside.
was that then? Was there another
Well,
character
I
in
know.
the comic, there are three.
Oh, is there? Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there is. That's right. And so it doesn't seem to tie in with the
that bit wasn't consistent for me, that bit.
Yeah.
That was the only bit I was sort of thinking that doesn't make sense, because Mark was supposed to be the killer guy, and yet he's the one having the Stephen wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean?
The other thing
it would have been interesting if there'd been a third character who was a dark kind of warrior type who was evil, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that the fifth episode, talking about, you know, his creation of Steve, and you know that seems to indicate there's just two of them.
Yeah,
but you know, maybe they're
that's right.
That there was something not quite right with that, because when they show that he's created through that, so they looks up at the poster and there's that Indiana Jones type character, and he's called Steve. But yet the Steve that we see on screen is a bumbling,
exactly.
Not a fool, is it? Because he knows all that knowledge.
He's a bit foolish.
That's very true. That wasn't the same sort of character that he was creating, was it? Yeah.
No, and he's like, "Oh, Mark, don't kill him, Mark. You don't want to kill him." And he's obviously got this English accent, which I think slips slightly towards the end of the season. In the first episode, I thought, "Oh, this is okay," but now I'm thinking, "Oh, it's not."
Yeah, he throws in English sayings and words, does't he? Which.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of covers it a bit, but I think it's a bit stupid sometimes. He says, "Oh, bollocks," you know.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, I just felt that in that moment when you see on the poster that he's obviously developed this disorder and the personality of this character that's supposed to be like Indiana Jones, and yet Steve to us is the weaker character. And Mark's the one that's taking the beatings, and Steve doesn't know anything about his mum beating him and thinks that she's still alive. And yet I don't quite understand.
Yeah, there's this kind of schizophrenic type
inconsistency,
isn't there? Inconsistency. It doesn't quite work on that side, unfortunately.
But we have got one more episode, and maybe we're going to be saying something completely different next week when we see what they do to finish it.
Do you know, it could be a real disappointment, couldn't it? Because I think, like you said before, it feels like there's so much to do to wrap it up and to get anywhere for it as a conclusion. You know, and I'm just like thinking, there's one episode. We've had 5 episodes of real investigate the character and investigate the two guys, and you know, it's got to be a hell of a lot of action in the last episode, you know, for Moon Knight to really sort of come out and shine, you know. So I'm kind of,
and for him to kind of defeat Ethan Hawke, to make sure he stops him from doing what he's trying to do.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see.
I think the last episode was so focused around Oscar Isaacs. I think we've kind of left the other characters behind a bit now. You know,
they've dropped out the girl character. She's dropped
out, and the villain's dropped out. You know, Ethan Hawke. I like his character, but the identity. He's never really had much else to do other than to try and chase the tomb, and you know, it's a shame. He appears as his doctor, which is kind of funny, but I thought it was
funny. I thought
that was about.
I thought he looked a little bit like Stan Lee as well when he was dressed up there. I thought the way he looked and he's sort of got kind of from 30 years ago. But it's been an interesting one. It's been very different, hasn't it? Which is nice in some respects, you know. And like you said, I because I don't know much about the character. I haven't read any of the comics. I haven't really researched the character much. I suppose that's been better for me in respect of, you know, I wasn't expecting a huge amount. It's been all right, you know.
I think a lot of people have been in your
some of the other series, you know, like WandaVision and that. I like the Vision character. I like Wanda was quite a good character. I was hoping that was going to be really good, and that was just weird. They really
first 3 episodes.
They really drew
really
that out,
terrible.
didn't they? But
terrible first 2 episodes. It got a lot better,
but I think I really enjoyed the first 4 episodes. I like the one with the tomb where they're in there and they're trying to find, and
that was all right.
Going about. I thought that was an all right episode. This one with the asylum, the one with the asylum where they're investigating their past, or that sort of, I thought was a bit too dark at times.
Yeah, I agree.
The mother was really portrayed as a really, that's like quite sinister, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and you couldn't show it to kids. That would definitely not be on, on the menu.
That's true. I mean, look, Marvel has been accused with its most recent line of comics that it has forgotten the youth, the children that originally comics were aimed at.
Yeah.
And the problem Marvel has is now it doesn't have a lot of successful comics that are new and that children read.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
They have a problem with that. And it's interesting that with Moon Knight, they've aimed it at 16 plus on the rating. So, who is it aimed at? I mean, there seemed to be a lot of humor in it.
Yeah.
For something that was maybe aimed at a serious superhero adult population that isn't really used to a lot of comedy.
I think I also noticed with a lot of these series now, they seem to be directed by different people each time, and each episode is like slightly more its own thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's very much like that with other series. I'm in the middle of Picard at the moment, and that's been all over the place, with what they're doing, and there's a little bit of that here. Now you sort of sit back and you think about it a bit. We've had certain different types of episodes, haven't we? This last one really sort of threw it all into a different field, didn't it?
And I think that part of the problem is that they're also written by all different people each episode.
Yeah.
So the continuity is Mohammed Diab is the director for a few of them,
right?
The writers are different, and it tells. It's that, as you're saying, that continuity.
There's something about it, isn't there, that feels like they've just slightly got the wrong tone or something on the next one. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't quite follow through the series, and that it's got to be difficult to do, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because it has changed a fair bit throughout the series. When you compare the first episode and the 5th episode, they're very, very different in their approach with things. But
well, it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah,
next week.
Definitely. Great.
It will.
Okay. Well, we're intending to meet once a week, and we'll pick that one up and have a review of that next week, which will be great.
Can we briefly talk about Thor, the new Thor film that's coming up?
Yes, I was going to say. There's been a new trailer that came out a few days ago, and it's worth having a chat about.
These hands were once used for battle. Now they're but humble tools for peace. I need to figure out exactly who I am. I want to choose my own path. Live in the moment. My superheroing days are over. Remember what I told you? You ever feel lost? Just look into the eyes of the people that you love. Not me. What? Just listening.
Great. Okay, so Thor, Love and Thunder. I'm actually quite excited about this one. I do like Thor. I like him as a character, and quite into all the gods and all that sort of thing, the mythology and so on. I know my sister likes him for other reasons, and which he's an annoyingly good-looking guy, so it is quite annoying. But obviously, this film picks up after, well, I suppose after Endgame, really, doesn't it? Where he's put a few pounds on. He likes playing his computer games and wallowing in self-pity. I thought this could be a good outing for Thor. What did you think?
He's supposed to be going on a journey of finding himself.
Yeah.
And on that journey, he comes across a dead god and realizes there is someone out there killing gods, which is Gore, and that's Gore. Christian Bale.
Yes. Yeah, now you don't see Christian Bale in the trailer, do you?
Or you don't see Russell Crowe either.
Yes, you do.
No, at the end slightly.
You do.
Did you? I didn't see it.
No, there's a bit where he's Zeus, and
you see his back.
You see
and he grabs the lightning,
come to his hand. Yeah,
which was really cheesy.
I've watched that trailer about 10 times. Like trying to see everything.
No, at the end, it's right at the end.
So
I was quite.
See his face. You see his back.
No, I realise that now that I can know exactly what scene it is. But no, I mean, I think it looks interesting. He's obviously got a journey to go on to get himself back to his physique. Apparently he's put on more muscle than he's ever had before, so we're all going to be wowed by that.
Well, I like the look of it in the trailer where he's got those huge chains and he's doing that sort of training and stuff. It's obviously the same. It's the same director, isn't it, who did the third Thor film, Ragnarok. So I can never pronounce his I never pronounce his name right. Taika, whatever his name is.
I know.
Who also plays Korg, doesn't he? He plays that rock guy, and so it's obviously going to have some fun in it, isn't it? And some jokes, and because he's
Chris Hemsworth's pretty funny, isn't he? He doesn't take himself very seriously, which I like. He
carries it well.
Yeah.
I like the fact it's got the Guardians of the Galaxy in it.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to do a film for the Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's this in Thor as well. So they're kind of teaming up. That's what I like about these films. They bring other characters in. They kind of spread the storylines between the films. But no, so he's going on this journey, and then in the trailer you see a scene where he sees this massive dead animal, which is obviously a god.
Right.
Yeah, that actually is directly from the comics. That is a direct reference to the comics.
Is it?
Right. Yeah. And he's realizing that something's not up, and that actually he's not going to be able to just go on this journey. He's going to have to be a superhero once more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, earlier
there's a whole bunch of hidden stuff in there because Groot
there is
returns, because when he plants his axe, Lovejoy, whatever he calls it, in the ground, and Groot grows from that, apparently.
Yes.
So Groot returns. It's based. I have to say, you guys are excited about it. I think it looks crap, personally. I'm not a big fan of Thor. I always find it difficult with the gods, but I think that with this, it's a love story to Thor, and it's going to be just all about Chris Hemsworth. And again, I don't.
No.
I don't think it is, because it's almost handing it to Natalie Portman as Thor.
I think
there's that scene at the end where she grabs the hammer.
Yeah, I think there's
going to be cracked. Have you noticed that the hammer is cracked?
Yeah,
but that's where it got damaged before, when in the previous it
got destroyed, didn't it?
And then those cracks appeared in it, and they've retained those cracks as a reference to that.
It's obviously been put back together, but it's like who's put it back together? That's the kind of thing I want to know. Who's put the hammer back together?
But she's able to lift the hammer.
Yeah, she's now got the power of Thor.
There's a bit of debate about how that is the case.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
They've covered her up quite a lot I mean, she's got the mask on.
Yeah.
She's got her body's covered. Apparently, she's worked out quite a lot to sort
She's
of get
quite muscular.
muscular.
Quite fit.
Yeah,
But-
there's a few things online saying they've CG'd her arms, but I'm
Yeah.
like, she doesn't look like she's that
No.
massive. Do you know what I mean?
Doesn't
I'm
look
like, what the
Chris
hell?
Hemsworth.
Don't take it too far.
I when that scene came up and she grabbed hold of the hammer, I didn't like the way she grabbed hold of the hammer, and that sounds really
Right.
petty. I
No,
thought they could have
her
made that
hero
look a bit
pose.
more-
It
I think
was a
it could have
hero
been a
pose.
bit more authentic. I don't know. I just felt it was a bit cheesy and it didn't look quite right.
It was
But
just
maybe
the last minute
thickly-
reveal.
It was a thick, cheesy show, as far as it just looked. It's weird. As they've got this kind of the MCU has become so complex and all the crossing over of the films, and I've become less and less interested in it, in the sense that I never know what the fuck's what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
That's what I
I
like
know.
about it. You've got to use your brain.
It's not. It's stupidness. It's not cleverness. It is just like this constant.
Yeah, but I always think
I like the detail of it. I like
throwing
the way
in.
they've been able to do the
but
continuity.
I always think with standalone films, when they don't touch any of the other characters, it's unrealistic, you know.
Mm.
And I like that some of the other characters come in. It's not like anyone's too big or too megastar to come into that film. You know,
I agree.
Robert Downey Jr.
yeah.
used to pop up in all loads
Yeah.
of them, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? I thought
Yeah,
that was
that's
good
great.
in that it showed this is a universe that's all linked together. You know,
I
Which is why
agree.
Moon Knight is a mystery to me. But anyway,
But
yeah.
the multiverse seems absolutely bonkers. I mean,
yes,
Well, we'll find more about
Yeah.
that. won't
it
Yeah.
does.
we?
I
It does.
it is
I-
confusing. I mean, you just. I don't feel like they know the identity of some of their characters anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. Is
Yeah.
that by doing this, I don't feel like I'm as attached to the characters as I used to be.
Yeah,
You know, so when they
Hmm.
do like a Spider-Man film, and it is largely about Spider-Man and one or two of his villains, I feel much more kind of like, oh yeah, no, that's interesting. Whereas when it's all the Guardians of the Galaxy characters and then suddenly all
to be
these
honest with
start
you,
coming in, and I'm like,
I
oh,
don't think
no.
they're going to be in it long. I don't think.
No,
I think
you're right.
he's gonna train up a bit.
It's gonna be a
They're going to
big
say, right, we got to go and do
Chris
this fight.
Hemsworth film. You wait.
He's going to say, I don't want to fight anymore, and then they're going to go, and he's going to just go and wander off and find Zeus. There'll be these sort of you know, this issue with the god killer, you know, the god butcher. Is it butcher?
Yeah.
Is he a butcher, isn't he, or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's got this black sword. type
Yeah,
thing that he-
haven't seen any of him. You know what I mean?
No.
What
Have
he
you
looks
seen
like.
the artwork, Brett? Have you
Seen some of the
artwork?
artwork. He's kind of a funny, you know.
Yeah,
Hmm.
But
golem
it-
type looking creature.
I suppose they're just gonna wait until they've done the CG properly on it. You know.
Yeah.
And there's the
And-
mystery
and the
character
film
they're
comes
talking
out,
about being
you
dropped
know.
into that space.
Yeah.
There's like a mystery character. They're holding stuff back. There's lots of pop references throughout the trailer, and there will be obviously in the films.
Yeah.
You know, little things like Tom Cruise's bar out of a cocktail, and there's all sorts of little things
Oh,
they've
really?
dropped in. They've really gone in deep with
That's what I like
the pop
about it.
culture.
They really, there's so much detail. There's so much to see.
Oh, I
You
like
could
that.
watch it over and over, and you can see something new every time. And I
Yeah.
like the fact they think so far in the future, and they know what they want to do. You know, I
You get
when I'm
conflicting reports
when
of
I'm
that.
reading
You get
a good,
you know.
like when I'm reading a good author, and they've got like they've written 10 books, and they've thought about little
Yeah.
things that you know, that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
similar thing.
Well,
I like that.
Yeah, but I think that sometimes it's at the expense of good characters. If we look at Moon Knight as an example of them maybe refocusing onto changing their approach,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it might be that a lot of the new Marvel series are more focused down on individual characters. But you know, it is tricky to tell. But I just felt when I watched that trailer, I just thought, is this just all about getting sort of laughs out of Chris Hemsworth?
Is this his last film, do you think?
Well, he
hard
keeps
to know.
going, he keeps doing them, doesn't he? He loves it.
Yeah.
It's all about, they're paying him millions of dollars to do these films. I'm sure he's not too fussed about it.
At the end of Endgame, I honestly thought that series
don't mention
of
Endgame.
superheroes were going to be gone. I thought, along with Captain America and
Yeah, it did feel that way, didn't it? That it was the
Yeah.
end of their era, but he seems to be, maybe he's the one that will do a couple more. He's not in as many as the others are. Do you know
I
what I
think
mean?
Doctor Strange is.
He doesn't
they're
pop up
saying-
as much, He's in the
Yeah.
Thor films, he's in the Avenger films, but I don't think he's not in any of the other films, is he? Do you know what I mean?
I think they're saying that Doctor Strange is going to be a bit like Iron Man was.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
To
Absolutely.
this time round.
I don't like Doctor Strange. I mean,
What?
I know. I don't get me wrong. I like Benedict, but I think that his character is just all over the shop. I mean, when you introduce something that is so mind bending, that twists reality, you can either really go with the ride and accept it.
Yeah.
And I did for some of the time, but then it just started to get it becomes like that's what the thing's about rather than the character. And I had very much get a feeling that they want to just do these big effects. You don't need to have big effects to have lots of characters in a show, but that's the way, unfortunately, it feels. And with that with the Thor trailer, we saw this planet where they're living or meeting, or where potentially Thor had his eye healed and all that sort of thing, and there's going to be lots of effects.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like, I'm presuming if he's going to see Zeus, that's some sort of Olympus or something like that, because that's where he lived. It looked like a huge, massive thing, didn't it? That's huge, beautiful place.
Yeah,
they do make these huge things, don't they? And it can
do.
be a bit. I think what you were saying about Moon Knight, where if you watch you have to watch it 2 or 3 times to be able to see all the bits, and even then it's so much stuff, isn't it? It's a bit of a mind, overload, and you're right. I find I'm less excited about Doctor Strange, I do like Thor. It could be great, it could be really bad. Do you know what I mean? There's the bit, in the Doctor Strange trailer where you see him as another doctor from another universe, and he's like, nearly. And I thought, oh god, that looked bad.
I think Doctor Strange is going to be more about progressing the story of the whole MUC, whereas the Thor film is going to be more about Thor Wankfest, basically.
It really is. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think you're right. But it could this be his last film, and suddenly the whole hammer is being handed over to
Natalie Portman.
Jane Foster. She could suddenly be. I
think it's weird that she's come back.
I don't think she should be. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's weird she's coming back in, because she obviously didn't want to be in it. She did a couple of films and she didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, but I wonder how much of that is. I mean, what big films has she been in lately? And I wonder how much of that is because you always got to remember, like you were saying about Chris Hemsworth. The other actors want to be in big films and earn big money, I just hope they bring back old Jeff Goldblum.
He's good.
If he's in anything, he's excellent.
I love him. I could watch any film with him in. He's so funny. I love his mannerisms and his quirky ways. I still think I'm looking forward to it, and it could go one way or the other. It could be really good, or it could be real tosh, and they've not been on the best of form for a few of their films recently, have they?
It's going to have funny parts, no doubt. Yeah, it's funny, but how much?
I'm going to enjoy watching it at the cinema.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know whether I'm going to go to cinema and watch it, but I'll definitely watch it.
I think you should.
Well, you need to. You need to if you're on here. You know, if you're
Yeah.
on Geek Rant.
Maybe I'll miss that week. No, it would definitely. It depends. Obviously, what else is on that week? But,
yeah.
Well, because of everything that's happened with COVID, they're not releasing a mega film, more than one mega film every a couple of weeks, are they?
Yeah.
No,
Everything's
true.
a lot slower.
It's true.
Yeah.
But these films, they've been waiting to be released. I mean, how long did it take to release Scarlett Johansson's film?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was epidemic, wasn't it? You know.
And but actually, it was detrimental to her film. I think if they'd released that a few years earlier, it would have been so much better.
It also was a bit weird that they killed her off in Endgame and then they gave her a own film, and it was what the hell? We've killed the character in our hearts. She dies. It's kind of like I'm not that interested anymore.
No, exactly. And they could have easily done that film when it was due to be done in the timeline. If they'd put it in when it was actually during the timeline,
exactly,
it would have been much better.
Exactly.
But they obviously felt, we haven't done many main female roles.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons,
Captain
wasn't
Marvel.
it? Yeah. I hate to say it, but
it wasn't a great film.
It wasn't a great film.
No. And neither was Eternals. It wasn't bad. But
Florence Pugh is a great actress, or actor, I should say. But I think that Florence Pugh, the sister,
she's like the new Black Widow, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's
kind of taking over that
really
mantle,
good
isn't
actress.
she?
And
she's a good actress, but I wasn't that taken with her in that film. I thought it was okay.
I think she's definitely an up and coming actress.
Oh, she's definitely she's definitely a good actress. Yeah. I've seen her in some other stuff,
actor,
and she's
to be
good.
honest.
Actor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks very much for listening to our show this evening. We've enjoyed having a good discussion about Moon Knight and Thor's trailer. Obviously, we want people to like and subscribe to the channel and comment. We'd love to see what people are saying about what we're saying and whether you agree or disagree or whatever. Next week, we'll be back. We're going to be reviewing the last episode of Moon Knight. Hopefully, there's going to be a lot of action in that one. There will be some discussion about Picard. We're all huge Star Trek fans. The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, that's our era. We're going to discuss Picard. And we also going to have a little segment about our 5 favorite moments from Marvel films. So from the MCU, we're all going to pick our 5 favorite moments and discuss what bits we like. Thanks very much for joining us. We will see you again next week, and please like or subscribe to the channel. Thanks guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
See you later.